ago, in the governor's race, Oregon voters, the majority of Oregon voters voted for conservative candidates. So how did a liberal Democrat win? He got 49% of the vote. And the Constitution Party candidate got 1.3%, and the Libertarian got 1.4%. Now, neither of those candidates had the remotest chance of winning, but together they shaved off just enough of the conservative votes from the Republican to hand our state and the victory over to the Democrat. And 2 years before that, Oregon had a Republican senator. What happened? The same thing. A liberal Democrat beat him with 49% of the vote. And the Constitution Party candidate siphoned off just enough of the conservative vote to hand the victory to the liberals. Now, can anybody guess what the moral of these stories is?
Vote for the winner.
The moral is, a vote for a third party is a vote for the Democrat. Now, I used to be a libertarian for 30 years, so I totally understand why conservatives vote for third party candidates. We want to vote our principles. We don't want to vote for the lesser of two evils. But in the real world, results count more than intentions. And the reality is, this is a two-party system. When you don't vote for the lesser of two evils, you are helping the greater evil win. And in the real world, if the results of your actions have the effect, the exact opposite effect of the principles that guide your actions, then you're doing something wrong. And when the real world result of voting your conservative principles is to push the country further and faster into socialism, you need to take a hard look at cause and effect and decide whether what you're doing is really serving the best interest of our nation, because helping liberal Democrats win again and again is not the way to take our country back. And what do we want to do? Good. Now, the Republican Party isn't perfect, okay? But because this is a two-party system, if you want to have a real-world impact, you have to work from within one of the two major parties. And the other party is currently occupied. 4 years ago, when I re-registered, the reason I chose the Republican Party was because the principles on which it was founded aligned perfectly with my personal political philosophy. Limited government, personal responsibility, and individual freedom. Now, the Republican Party has strayed from those principles, but people, that happened on our watch. Our forefathers founded this party on these principles for us. As conservative Americans, the Republican Party is our party, and it's up to us to take it back. And realistically, that's the only chance we have to take our country back. And what is it we want to do?
Take it back.
That's right. A lot of people are disillusioned with the Republican Party. A lot of conservatives are disillusioned. And the reason is the Republican Party has failed us. But maybe we have failed the Republican Party because we have turned our backs and walked away instead of standing up and fighting for the principles on which it was founded. Are we going to do the same thing with our nation?
No.
Or are we going to take both of them back?
Take them both back.
Now, a lot of people have told me that they believe that our country is going to have to hit bottom before we can turn it around. Well, I'm here to tell you today that the economic cliff we're about to go over is so steep and so high that when we hit bottom, there will be nothing left to bounce back. When our country, when America falls, it will not be by military action from without. It will be by economic collapse from within. And that's what we're headed for. This is an emergency. We need to save our nation. We need to wrest the reins of government out of the hands of those who are whipping us over the cliff. And the only way to do that is for conservatives to unite and all pull together to avert the impending catastrophe. We need to do this, and we need to do it together, because we can't afford to lose this one. The stakes are too high. Now, the last thing I wanted to talk about today was how to take back the Republican Party. And I'm running out of time, so I want to leave you with 3 magic words. Precinct committee person. And I want you to remember these 3 words, because if you're a registered Republican, these words will appear on your ballot next month. And I also want you to remember this. You can become a precinct committee person with as few as 3 write-in votes next month if there's an open position in your precinct, and there usually are. Precinct committee people have the power to take back our party from the ground up, and we are doing it county by county across this state and across this nation. We did it in Josephine County. You can do it in Jackson County. PCPs are the key, and you need to be one. So I'm out of time. God bless you. God bless America, and let's take our country back!
Ladies and gentlemen, let him hear you loud and clear, Jeri McCauley.
I'm concentrating on the local government in the county, and I see some things going on that are pretty sad. I've been here in this valley for 40 years, in Oregon all my life, and I'm just becoming totally disgusted with the way things are being dealt with here locally, particularly in land use. We have 2 petitions that are going to be on the May ballot, and one of them is to restore the rights that were given by the voters of this state and the voters of this county to over 600 residents in Jackson County, Measure 37 waivers that were given to these folks by our county and by the state, and authorized to allow us to do what we could do with our land when we purchased it. Well, that seems fair, doesn't it? Yes. Well, they went through the process. They approved us all. They said, sure, go ahead. This is, and of course, there was a lot of money to be paid along the lines there to secure this. And then the government, from the top down, decided they'd shuffle in Measure 49, kill Measure 37, so it left everybody standing around with their thumb up in the air and no plumb on the end of it, wondering what our tax dollars are going to do to us next. Every time we look in these holes, we find they're full of bureaucrats. We have come to the state of this county and this state and the United States. We've created an administrative rule, an administrative law that is administered by bureaucrats. We have no place in our Constitution for administrative law. We have civil law and we have criminal law. I challenge anybody to find the administrative law portion. It's just not there. However, all of these hearings officers that are appointed to adjudicate and listen to whether or not you're doing right or wrong sits in the courthouse over there. Every Tuesday morning you can go in and listen to some of them, and you can hear examples like a 92-year-old man who parked a boat in his barn and is fined $600. Or another individual who is in the tree trimming business who parks his tree trimming truck at his residence and gets charged for operating a business out of his home. It's becoming ridiculous, but it's to the point that it's a revenue generation factor for the county. And we have a county administrator who is just tickled pink with this process because it's bringing in revenue for him to spend on his exorbitant salary, the county commissioner's exorbitant salaries, and everybody else in this. Do you realize that this county is the highest paid? Our government officials are the highest paid in the state of Oregon. Did anybody realize that? No. They are. They're the highest paid. That equates to counties and towns of several million people, not hundreds of thousands. But yet our courthouse is funded to the extent out of our property taxes that it just can't continue. So they're looking for ways to generate revenue any way they can, by hook or by crook. And it's shameful what they're doing. I've sat through a number of these hearings and been through them myself, and it's ridiculous. And it's just it's come to the point that we need to stand up and take it back, and we've got to start right here at the city level and at the county level to make any changes. If we don't, we might as well all pack up and move to Venezuela. It's getting that bad, folks. It really is. And people talk about Agenda 21. Until about a year ago, I was a little bit reluctant. I said, oh, come on. Agenda 21, you know what? They're not that smart. But the more I listen to folks like Rosa Corey, I think that was here, spoke last week. I didn't get to go to it, but I heard a tape of it. And what she says sinks right in when you start thinking about the subtle things that are going on under the surface. You begin to realize, and when you see it for yourself or experience it like I have, you begin to realize that, you know, this whole process has a life of its own. And it doesn't care what we do because there's not enough of us doing it. And not enough of us standing up and saying, wait a minute, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. And I think we're all getting to that point. But folks are getting tired of not seeing any response. They say, what can one person do? What can I do? Well, we can all do something if we band together and show a force. Show them how we feel about our country. These 2 petitions that are out there and going to be on the ballot have been 4 years of hard work for lots of great people here that are part of this process that got it done. And we've got to give them all the credit in the world. These people worked night and day and hard and got it done, and it's going to be on the ballot. And by George, I would appreciate everybody getting out there and voting. If you agree with it, vote yes. And I think you'll find it difficult to disagree with it. By the way, we do have some people that are disagreeing with it, and I take that as a compliment, because the people that are disagreeing with it are the 1,000 Friends of Oregon. So I think that's a compliment to what we're getting done when they start objecting. Because if they're our friends, folks, we don't need any enemies. If the county commissioners will take this to heart and not turn around and turn it into a lawsuit and listen to the people for a change instead of some administrator, I think they will see that the best thing that they can do is support the citizenry of Jackson County. And these 2 petitions will allow them to do that if they'll take it to heart. They had one opportunity when Judge Owen Panner, a federal court judge, told them that they were wrong and we were right. Did they listen to that? Did they support the citizenry of Jackson County? No. The state of Oregon come in and put pressure on them and said, no, you can't do that. You can't allow this to happen. So the county commissioners backed away and said, okay, you handle it. The state's now in opposition to it, and we won the first round. We lost the second round under the Ninth Circuit Circus Court, as I call them, and hopefully we'll get it to the Supreme Court. But if these 2 petitions will get voted on and get send the message to the county commissioners that this is what we want, and if they will listen, we can make some tremendous changes in this valley. Right now we're at a stranglehold by the state and what they will allow to happen in this county. Now, the state says, oh, that's not true. And 1,000 Friends of Oregon will say, no, that's not true. The county can do pretty much anything they want. Well, somebody needs to tell the county that, because they're not doing that. They're marching to the tune of the state. And I don't know if any of you have ever heard of the a woman with a serpent tattoo.
Dragon tattoo.
Dragon tattoo, is it? Well, we used to have a planning director named Susan Lee with a dragon tattoo. And this lady stood up at one meeting that I was at and said, my department and I do not work for the citizens of Jackson County, nor do we work for the county commissioners. We are an extension of the state of Oregon's enforcement for DLCD. Now, when somebody at our local courthouse stands up and says something like that, it makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up. Suddenly, this is a department not for Jackson County, but for the state of Oregon. And you know what? Everybody says, oh, we're all part of the state of Oregon. Yes, we are. But are we going to sit on this bus until they drive us over this economical cliff and say, well, you know what? It was the state that was driving. I couldn't help it. Well, let's take the wheel away from the state and put it in the county where we live, because we have different needs down here than the rest of the state. I better end it right there. Thank you very much for coming. Amen.